Welcome to our program, Climate Laws, Legally Binding Commitments to Create a Cooler Planet, Part 1 of 2. On today's show, we'll explore how European Union members are using legislation to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and thus avoid climate change's unfortunate consequences. Enacting both local and international climate laws is essential to the process of minimizing or neutralizing the impact of climate change as proposed by the Paris Agreement. The Paris Agreement is a worldwide effort to keep the increase in global temperature to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels and to attempt to limit the increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius. One important signatory of the Paris Agreement is the European Union, a political and economic group of many European nations started in the mid-20th century with 6 countries: Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg and the Netherlands. The European Union is a shining world leadership award for Compassion Laureate and a Nobel Peace Prize winner. The EU's Paris Agreement pledge calls for a nationally determined contribution, or NDC, to reducing at least 40% of greenhouse gas emissions by 2030 to address the climate crisis. However, the EU now has the goal of reaching climate neutrality and zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050 through its European Climate Law Plan. As mentioned in the paper, a European Climate Law draft on January 14, 2020 by Dr. Niels Meyer-Ohlendorf, head of the European and International Governance Ecologic Institute, some of the goals of this regulation are as follows: to ensure a fair and credible contribution by the Union to global efforts to comply with the Paris Agreement temperature goal, to support the Union's welfare, prosperity, health, ecosystems and biodiversity against the threat of anthropogenic climate change as set out in the communication on the European Green Deal, to set and, if necessary, facilitate adjusting the EU's 2050 climate objective in line with scientific findings of the International Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC. In a collaborative video with British environmental campaigner George Monbiot of the Natural Climate Solutions Project, Greta Thunberg, who is a Shining World Heroine Award laureate, affirmed the importance of taking care of nature rather than destroying it, while also advising the world's citizens to choose leaders who see nature as a precious treasure to be safeguarded and loved.
This is not a drill. My name is Greta Thunberg. We are living in the beginning of a mass extinction. Our climate is breaking down. Children like me are giving up their education to protests. But we can still fix this. You can still fix this.
Mangroves, peat bogs, jungles, marshes, seabeds, kelp forests, swamps, coral reefs, they take carbon out of the air and lock it away. Nature is a tool we can use to repair our broken climate. These natural climate solutions could make a massive difference.
Pretty cool, right? Up to 200 species are going extinct every single day.
Much of the Arctic ice is gone. Most of our wild animals have gone. Much of our soil has gone.
So what should we do?
What should you do?
It's simple. We need to protect, restore and fund. Protect. Tropical forests are being cut down at the rate of 30 football pitches a minute.
Where nature is doing something vital, we must protect it.
Restore. Much of our planet has been damaged.
But nature can regenerate, and we can help ecosystems bounce back.
Fund.
We need to stop funding things that destroy nature and pay for things that help it.
It is that simple. Protect, restore, fund.
This can happen everywhere. Many people have already begun using natural climate solutions. We need to do it on a massive scale.
You can be part of this.
Vote for people who defend nature.
Everything counts. What you do counts.
Thank you, Greta and George, for urging people to protect our Mother Earth. We'll take a moment now to hear a constructive message. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned to Supreme Master Television. Welcome back to our program, as we continue to explore climate laws and the best ways to eliminate the harmful effects of climate change. Individually, European Union countries also have national laws to mitigate the impact of climate change. For instance, the Danish Climate Act passed in December 2019 sets a legally binding target for reducing Denmark's emissions by 70% before 2030 compared to 1990 levels, and for reaching climate neutrality by 2050. New targets are to be set on a 5-year basis over the next 10 years. Enacted in June 2015, Finland's Climate Change Act aims to reduce the nation's greenhouse gas emissions by 80% compared to 1990 baseline levels no later than 2050. With Law number 2019-1147 on energy and the climate, passed in November 2019, France is committed to achieving carbon neutrality before 2050, while establishing a series of goals for the nation's energy industry. The Dutch Climate Act, approved in July 2019, aims to reduce the Netherlands' greenhouse gas emissions by 49% before 2030 compared to 1990 levels, and then by 95% no later than 2050. The Swedish Climate Act of 2018 establishes a long-term target of having a net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2045 at the latest. The young Swedish activist and vegan Greta Thunberg, who is a Shining World Heroine Award laureate, delivered a speech at the World Economic Forum 2020 in Davos, Switzerland, explaining once again the dangers of rising temperatures for our planet.
I know you don't want to talk about this, but I assure you I will continue to repeat these numbers until you do. If we are to have a 67% chance of limiting the global average temperature rise to below 1.5 degrees Celsius, we had on January 1st, 2018, about 420 gigatons of CO2 left to emit in that budget. And of course that number is much lower today, as we emit about 42 gigatons of CO2 every year, including land use. With today's emissions levels, that remaining budget is gone within less than 8 years. And why is it so important to stay below 1.5 degrees Celsius? Because even at 1 degree, people are dying from climate change. Because that is what the United Science calls for, to avoid destabilizing the climate so that we have the best possible chance to avoid setting off irreversible chain reactions. Every fraction of a degree matters. I've been repeating these numbers over and over again in almost every speech. But honestly, I don't think I have once seen any media outlet or person in power communicated this and what it means.
In Berlin, organizers said 270,000 people attended. London,
Greta, we are with you in fighting climate change. Just by adopting a vegan diet, you are already making an immense contribution to decreasing the global temperature. During a conference in October 2009 in Indonesia, Supreme Master Ching Hai said, as she has on several other occasions, the best solution for our planetary climate crisis is to adopt a compassionate, plant-based way of living.
Stopping meat and dairy consumption and fishing, poultry, or the animal product is the fastest and most effective way to cool our planet and halt these dangerous changes. And now that we also understand the immeasurable benefits for the organic vegan diet, we can simply step forward and implement this solution, which offers not only better personal health, but literally can save the entire planet, the entire world. This is how we continue to make the vegan lifestyle more popular.
Peaceful viewers, thank you for joining us today.